Welcome back to the garage. Let's cover the combat tactics of the ARL44. When playing this Tier 6 heavy French tank, keep this in mind. Don't go too far into enemy territory because you might not escape if surrounded. Try to hide your tank among the hills and only show your turret when you want to fire, making your vehicle less vulnerable as you cover your weak points. You can expose your tracks, provoking your enemy to fire. Your enemy will lose a shell with ideally 0 damage being dealt to your tank. As your enemy is reloading, you can come out from behind cover and land a shot. In this scenario, you should face your enemy head on. You can position your hull slightly diagonally, but don't expose your sides to the enemy. This way, the odds of ricochet or penetration failure are still high, and your internal modules are kept safe. Plus, your front hull armor thickness of 120mm will even let you withstand higher tier tank attacks. A fun fact about the 90mm DCA-45 gun is it can be lowered by 10 degrees. This gives you a wonderful opportunity to shoot enemy tanks from behind hills in a hold down position with only your turret exposed. None of the other tanks of this tier can do this except the M6. The ARL44 is the most effective in combat when providing backup. You can choose a flank and protect it, or withstand enemy fire to protect others using your thick frontal armor. In matchmaking, the ARL44 will be pitted against Tier 6, 7, and 8 tanks. Some tankers may underestimate your ARL44 because of its Tier 6 status, but that can be their downfall. Your highly accurate main gun and thick frontal armor allow you to engage enemies on the front lines with proper team support. Comparing the variety of different types of opponents, the ARL44 is very effective when faced against low-speed tanks. The other Tier 6 heavy tanks are some of the slowest vehicles in the game. From slow to tog too slow, the ARL44 can withstand frontal attacks from its slower peers with its armor. The ARL44 is also effective against tank destroyers. TDs are not as flexible to aim for the weaker sides or rear of the ARL44 during a frontal approach. Use this to your advantage when engaging such vehicles. Remember that Tier 6 tank destroyers, like the SU-100 and ARL-V39, have high penetration and damage values, so they can damage your tank in spite of its thick and well-angled frontal armor. The worst opponents you will face in the battlefield are the fast tanks. These can move to your sides and rear, inflicting critical damage. Since your tank isn't very fast, your turret turns slowly, and your aim time is long, you're unlikely to fight back effectively. Do not seek out engagements with tanks that use high explosive shells. These shots will damage your tank no matter where they hit you. You should also watch out for German artillery, especially the Grill. Unlike the KV-1 or T-150, your ARL44 has very weak sides, which means this high-speed artillery with its potential penetration of 75mm can be a dangerous opponent, and in some cases, one shot may be enough to completely destroy your tank. Remember that you can use tactical tricks and maneuvers to destroy your enemies. One combat tactic is to trick your enemy by using your tracks. The tracks of this tank protrude from the sides, so if you expose them, your enemy may be tempted by the first sighted target to fire. Ideally, you won't take any damage, and your enemy will have to reload, allowing you to move toward your enemy for a clear shot. This tactic will not work against tanks equipped with HE rounds. They will inflict damage even if they hit you at the very edge of your armor or tracks. When an enemy takes a shot that deals 0 damage, that is an opening for you to return fire. But remember, the effective thickness of your tank's frontal armor is very high, and your side armor thickness is only 50mm. You must be very careful when under attack from multiple enemy tanks with no allies to help you. Find an indestructible object, like a building, a rock, or a hill, and hide behind it immediately. Then peek out diagonally so that your frontal armor is at an angle of 30 to 35 degrees from the enemy and your sides are protected by the object. This will increase your effective armor thickness. Trust the math. When executed correctly, it will make your tank almost invincible by protecting your weak points. After you have fired, you should pull back behind cover so your enemy does not successfully pounce on you while reloading. The ARL44's best tactic in high-tier battles is to take the backseat approach. Don't go too far into enemy territory. Stay in the background and hide behind your more heavily armored teammates. It's true the ARL44 is not very mobile and has no auto-loading mechanism, but it can effectively penetrate higher tier tanks if used properly. None of the other tanks of its tier can do this. Using these combat tactics will have your teammates and opponents realizing the ARL44 may be slow, but its firepower and high frontal armor rating leaves a path of destruction on the battlefield.